Welcome to Hodge Podge Australia. I know we have a big one for you today, but it's worth it to create this beautiful holiday Barbie. First, we're going to need one Barbie. Now, she has no clothes, but that's because we're going to dress her ourselves. We've pulled her hair back so that it gets out of the way, just using a fancy rubber band. So we're using some white fondant because obviously with Christmas I wanted the lovely white dress. And actually you could also use this for a bridal theme with the white, but you can customize it to any color that you want. I'm using white. So I'm going to roll this out and I'm going to create a bodice for Barbie. So getting it thin, but not too thin. I don't know in centimeters, you just feel it out. With me, it's a lot of feeling it out. I was happy with the thickness of my bodice. I wanted it to be nice and solid. I didn't want it to be see-through. I didn't want it to be chunky. So I've got fondant rolled out to where I'm happy. Anyway, let's get our Barbie dressed. She's looking very cozy there, but anyway, let's get her dressed. So let's just trim it so it's a little bit more straight at the top. Good tip is to have her arms back like that so that she's sitting up, because we're going to want this bodice to dry. So we're going to have her sit out like this for a while. Thankfully it's nice and hot here in Brisbane, if I haven't already mentioned, or if you haven't been listening to any of my previous videos. It's very hot here in Brisbane, so fondant dries really quickly. So I only needed to have her out for a few hours before I could do the rest of the cake. If it was winter, you'd probably need to have them out for a couple of days so that you get a really good dry. As you can see, I'm just pressing the fondant around Barbie's figure to make a lovely bodice corset shape. And then I'm just going to trim off the excess at the back and I'm going to join it together. And see, I've put in a little sweetheart top there, just using my thumb and just smoothing out any edges. So giving it a little bit of a tuck down, and then we're going to tidy it up and join it at the back and then let her dry. There she is, all covered in her bodice, and now she's just going to sit out and dry. In the meantime, I have cooked myself 2 cakes. I have our lovely Wilton doll cake using 2 cake mixes, as you can see, and I also have a very small 8-inch round cake just to help give it a bit more height. And then it's down to the crumb coating. So let's put a layer between the bottom cake and the Wilton cake. You can also cut the Wilton cake in half and put another layer in, which probably would be nice, but I didn't. It's up to you, your call. You could even put a different colour in there if you wanted, just to make it fancy, but let's crumb coat it, pop it in the fridge and let that harden. Our Barbie is all ready and checking the height. I am happy that it comes up to just under her waist. Now what I'm going to do with Barbie, as you can see, her bodice is nice and hard. Well, trust me, it's hard. You can see her bodice is on. Trust me, it's hard. Anyway, I normally put a Barbie in the middle of the cake, but I actually want her to have a big butt in this one. I want her to have like the old style, so we're putting her further in the front. This is going to leave the back, as you will soon see, behind her. So it'll give her sort of like that old school big ass dress like they used to wear in America. You know, the Gone with the Wind type dresses. I really loved that. I always wanted a dress like that when I was little. Anyway, moving on. So using my trusty apple corer, I'm going to take out a section of the cake and we're going to put Barbie inside. So we're going to have to make that a little bit bigger. Obviously, Barbie's hips aren't that small, no matter what people say in the magazines. Taking out some, and a good tip with your Barbie, wrap her in cling film just around her legs. It just makes it less messy when you're pulling her out later on, and she doesn't get as caught because her legs don't get twisted and one goes one way and one goes the other. So just give her a bit of a wrapping cling film and then you can shove her in your cake. Also, do not worry, as you will see with mine, if your cake splits a bit when you're putting Barbie in, because obviously you're forcing her in, and unless you cut the hole precisely right, which I did not, your cake's going to split a bit. But you're covering it with fondant, so it does not matter. Does not matter. Do not think that you have to throw the cake out and start again. It's going to get covered. If you feel a bit better about it, you can always put some buttercream in that crack to fill it up. But I'm not worried. I'm just going to put fondant over it. So here we go, starting off with our fondant. We're going to roll out a good layer of white. Now, as you can see, it is a big cake. And you can see the piece of fondant I have out. It's not going to cover the whole thing. I'm a bit of a bits and pieces fondant person. I'll put a bit in, then I'll roll a bit more out and I'll add it on and I'll smooth out the edges. If you like to do one big long piece, that's excellent. Great. You'll probably save yourself a bit of time. Me, I like to make things difficult for myself and piece it all together. Either way, we're going to roll the fondant out and then we're going to start covering our cake. As you can see here, I'm bits and piecing it together, so just putting another piece on and then I smooth out the edges so you can't actually see the join. This is perfectly fine because we're going to put another layer of fondant over the top, so you're not going to see this. This is your base cover of fondant, so you do not need to be fanatical about it. You do not need to be perfect, and that makes it perfect for me. So this is great for beginners because there's a lot of room for error because you're going to cover it with more fondant. So let's get her covered and then we can move on to our ruffles. Now for the ruffles, what we need is to roll out a nice long thin piece of fondant. Just give it a trim so you've got a bit of a nice straight edge at the top. I just like to do it. Now as you can see, I'm just rolling just the edge up on each side of the fondant. I will zoom in and you'll be able to see in a minute. Here we go. Just using my finger, just giving it a light roll to give it a bit of texture and a bit of flow. Doing that on both sides, and you're going to do a lot of these strips, and there again, like I said, there's room for error because you can place one over the other. If you're not happy with the way one pleat's gone, you can take a piece off and try it again. You can do different lengths of the strips. You don't have to measure them out and be precise. You just play around and just let the dress talk to you. I always let the flow tell me how it's going to flow. So as you can see, I'm starting at the top and I'm going on a diagonal on this one. I think rather than just going straight down, this gives it a bit of body, a bit of volume, makes it look lovely. I would really love this dress. But anyway, what I'm using is my trusty water pen. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the back of the fondant and we're going to stick it down onto our base layer. This is just going to happen over and over again. Yeah, just do as many strips as you want. You can mix up colours if you'd like to. Oh gosh, a rainbow one would be pretty. Oh, I might have to try that another time. Maybe pastel colours. I'm getting away all from myself. Let's go back to the video. So trimming off any extras. Make sure it still conforms to the dress though. So as you can see, we're cutting another strip, giving a roll up on the edge, and then we're going to add that next to the strip that we already have. So just putting some water on the side, and we're going to stick it down so that it lines up with the strip already on the cake. While I'm layering fondant there, don't forget to subscribe to us here at Hodge Podge Australia. I do try to upload twice a week. Sometimes it's only once a week and I do apologise for that, but life gets in the way. Most of the time, however, it is 2 videos a week. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the share button if you like a video, let other people know about the videos that we've got here at Hodge Podge Australia, and certainly hit up the comments if you have any requests. I can certainly try and do my best to get something up there that I hope will please your request. So adding some more water to our fondant. Let's get back to the cake, shall we? Enough about me for now. We're going to add some water just to make sure our fondant stays down, and then you can just play with the ruffles to get them to sit out as much as you want or as little as you want. So there you can see it's starting to take shape very slowly because obviously there's only 2 little strips on there. But we're going to just continue. So doing some shorter pieces, you can do some longer pieces. This one's being attached to the bodice, so we're going to want it to use our water pen to stick this one down because obviously the bodice is hard because we've let it dry. So we're going to add this one on with a bit of water, and then you can see it's going to start coming together. It's covering the legs, so you don't need to worry about that. As I mentioned, lots of room for error in these sorts of dresses because all you can do is just add more layers. Add another layer. If you've got an error, add another layer. No one will even know it's there. You will be the only one that knows it's there, and trust me, you're the only one looking. Everybody else is just looking at it going, oh my god, look at that, look at the time spent on that, that's just amazing, and I can't wait to eat it. I can't wait to cut into it. They're not looking for errors, they're not looking for faults. So just add another layer. So I'm going to carry on layering these strips onto the cake, and you will see the finished product in just a moment. Before I go though, don't forget, just go with the flow. You may have a picture in your head of what you wanted it to look like. It may not be coming out exactly right. Let the dress talk to you. Or, you know, if you're really unhappy, maybe take it off and start again. But I let the dress talk to me. I let it direct and dictate the flow of these ruffles, and I love the result. So let's get on with ruffling, and you'll see the end result in just a moment. Just to sidetrack from getting to the end, let's go to the back. So as you can see here, I have done the front. I'm happy with the ruffles in the front, so I'm going to start on the back. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go in the same direction as the front. I'm probably contradicting what I just said. But again, this is how I'm doing the dress. And you can change it up however you want. That's the great thing about these. It's your creation. This one's my creation. So back off. Alright? Just kidding. Alright, let's move on. So I've done my ruffles, as you can see, and I'm going straight down on these two. But you will notice when I turn it around later that it does end up on a diagonal again. But on these two, to get it flowing down the back, it adds texture to the front as well because it adds a dimension, it adds another layer. I'm just going to pile it up at the back, and don't worry if you get a bit of a pile up the top at the back because we're going to cover that with a sash at the end. You could put, a big flower or a bow or something, but I've gone with a sash. So let's put a couple of ruffles down to cover, and you will see at the front it creates a lovely texture and another layer to the dress. So let's continue with our ruffles and let's see how it turns out. Here her dress is done, and I think it's just beautiful. With all the little ruffles in there, it really looks like it's got a life of its own, and it's just so much more effective than just a plain old covered piece of fondant. So I think she looks really lovely, but let's finish it off. Let's get some red fondant. Don't need a lot, just a bit. Let's roll it out. We're going to do exactly the same as we did with the white fondant. We're going to roll it out into a layer, and then we are going to ruffle the edges, and this is going to be her sash that's going to go over the little pile we've made at the back of the fondant. See, no one will see it. Just cover it with another layer. It's going to be my new catchphrase, cover it with another layer. But anyway, let's ruffle the sides, pile it up, and then we're going to wrap it around her waist. Once you're happy with the placement of your belt, grab your water pencil and secure that sucker down. And we're just going to trim off the edge of the fondant at the back so that we make our sashes equal and even, fixing up the placement. And here you can see our lovely red sash, and at the back it covers all folds and looks like it was meant to be there. Now, one last piece of addition to our beautiful Holiday Barbie is a shawl. It's winter. Well, it's winter somewhere at Christmas. It's summer here. But a shawl is a shawl is a shawl. I'm not sure where I was going there. Anyway, let's get a rectangular piece of fondant. All you have to do is just drape it over her shoulders and let it fall as it may. It's very simple. Very, very simple, and yet so effective. Little bit of dab of water. Let's secure that down. And there is her beautiful shawl, and it will dry in that position, and it's beautiful. So super happy. I think she's just stunning. It's really simple. I know I've said simple a lot, but it is. It's simple and classic and beautiful. Having said that, if you would like to see a bit more of a zhuzhed up bodice, as you can see in the picture here, click on the link up in the corner. If not, thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe to us here at Hodge, Podge Australia, and we'll see you again real soon.